Welcome to the most exciting coin discovery of your life. Today, we're diving into the mysterious and ultra-rare bicentennial coins, an ordinary-looking coin with the power to make you a millionaire overnight. If you've got this hidden gem in your pocket, your entire future could change in an instant. Let's unlock the secrets behind this legendary piece of treasure. First up, here's a possible YouTube-style script, in about 8 long paragraphs, about the 1982 Australia 5-cent coin, especially exploring the idea of a very dirty, poorly circulated example, and why, under rare circumstances, someone might imagine it as especially valuable. Note, this is a creative narrative take. Real-world values of a worn 1982 5-cent are generally modest. In the land down under, the humble 5-cent coin hides a quiet story of change. A story that begins on 14 February 1966, when Australia embraced decimal currency, discarding the old pounds, shillings, and pence. With that shift came the birth of the modern 5-cent piece, a small, round coin whose reverse design, a spiny echidna, would become instantly recognizable, while the obverse carried the familiar profile of Queen Elizabeth II. The 1982 5C, then, stands as a representative of that new era, a coin born in a nation adjusting to a simpler, decimal-minded monetary system. Its design, set by the artists Arnold Machen, obverse, and Stuart Devlin, reverse, harks back to that moment of transformation in Australia's financial history. Composed of copper nickel, specifically 75% copper and 25% nickel, the 1982 5-cent weighs about 2.83 grams and measures roughly 19.41 mm in diameter. This metallic blend gives the coin its silvery gray appearance and durability, ideal for a low-denomination coin meant for everyday circulation. The echidna stamped on the reverse is more than decoration. It's a nod to Australia's unique wildlife, embedding a piece of national identity into every small transaction. Now imagine, just for a moment, coming across a 1982 5-cent coin in extremely poor or very dirty condition. Worn surfaces, deep scratches, maybe dark tunning or grime that obscures fine details. To most eyes, this would be nothing more than a useless, worn-out coin, just a scrap of metal whose face value is barely worth a handful of cents. Indeed, for the vast majority of 1982 5C coins, produced en masse, around 139.5 million struck that year, their value remains close to face value, even in relatively decent condition. And yet, this is where the imagination and the collector's hope creep in. In some numismatic circles, there have been rumors or informal discussions about rare 5C coins that might fetch high prices, anywhere from hundreds to thousands of dollars. But those typically refer to error coins, rare mint varieties, or exceptionally well-preserved, uncirculated or proof specimens rather than beaten-up, dirty ones. Thus, the idea of a very dirty 1982 5C coin worth $1,000 to $9,000 or more runs counter to standard valuation norms. Condition matters enormously, and worn, corroded coins are generally not where the big money lies. However, and this is where a speculative, investment-style narrative could flourish, the allure of owning a piece from the early decades of Australia's decimal era might attract some niche collectors. For someone fascinated by the shift in Australian monetary history, even a 1982 5C could carry sentimental or symbolic weight. If hypothetically, a coin in dirty condition turned out to also have some genuine rarity, a mies strike, mint error, or unique provenance, then interest could spike. That's the kind of story that draws collectors, a roundabout journey from humble pocket change to potentially market-interesting artifact. For collectors to navigate this terrain wisely, the emphasis must always be on condition, authenticity, and documented provenance. Grading standards are unforgiving. Coins in very fine or uncirculated condition attract far more attention than worn examples. It's crucial to have a coin professionally certified if one hopes to sell or trade it. Certification establishes that the coin is genuine and describes its exact condition. Joining collector communities, forums, or numismatic societies can also help. These networks often surface rare coins, share knowledge about varieties, and provide guidance on spotting genuine rarities versus overhyped claims. From a broader perspective, coins like the 1982 5C, even if common, embody a slice of cultural and economic history. They remind us of a moment when Australia stepped away from its colonial-era currency system and embraced a modern decimal standard. Holding such a coin is like holding a piece of that transition. Every scratch, every imperfection tells a story about the hands that used it, the decades it passed through, the people it changed hands with. For collectors, that narrative, not just the metallic content, can carry intangible value. And finally, for those who see coin collecting not merely as a hobby, but as a potential long-term investment. While a dirty 1982 5C is unlikely to surge to thousands of dollars, the broader world of numismatics has shown that rarity, provenance, and collector demand can push even modest coins into unexpectedly high valuations, especially decades down the road. The global appeal of Australian decimal coins, the nostalgia associated with older coins, and the possibility of discovering a hidden mint error or unusual variety means that, for a handful of lucky or discerning collectors, a coin from 1982 might still prove to have rising value over time. In the end, whether your interest in the 1982 5-cent coin is historical, sentimental, or speculative, it represents more than just metal. It is a symbol of Australia's evolving identity, a bridge between eras, and a testament to the subtle power of everyday objects in capturing history. If treated with care, documented properly, and held with patience, even a simple decimal-era 5C coin might whisper stories of change, and someday, perhaps, pay tribute to its journey. As the years pass, the fascination with early decimal-era coins continues to expand beyond Australia's borders, drawing interest from collectors across Europe, Asia, and North America who appreciate the simplicity and artistic clarity of these small denominations. For international numismatists, the 1982 5-cent coin represents a clean snapshot of the Commonwealth period under Queen Elizabeth II, capturing the graceful portrait style of Arnold Machen, alongside Stuart Devlin's deeply Australian wildlife theme. This combination gives the coin a dual identity, globally recognizable through the monarch's effigy, yet unmistakably unique through its native echidna. Such a fusion of British tradition and Australian independence grants the coin an international appeal that stretches far beyond its face value or its metal composition. Even a dirty or heavily circulated example plays a role in this larger narrative because it speaks to the lived experience of the coin, how it traveled, who used it, and the era it served. Every mark and scratch becomes part of the historical timeline. Collectors who value character and story sometimes prefer such worn pieces because they feel alive, touched by time rather than isolated in mint-sealed perfection. This human element adds a kind of warmth to the 1982 5-cent coin, allowing it to function as a cultural artifact rather than merely a numismatic object. When viewed this way, even a coin in rough condition carries emotional worth that far exceeds its monetary measure. Moreover, the 1982 5-cent coin continues to symbolize stability in a world where physical currency is slowly giving way to digital forms of payment. As contactless systems, online transactions, and virtual wallets dominate modern life, the tactile weight of a small copper-nickel coin becomes almost nostalgic, a reminder of the days when pockets jingled and every cent mattered. In this sense, collecting such coins is also a way of preserving a fading era. Those who recognize this cultural shift often see early decimal coins as future relics, predicting that their desirability will grow precisely because They represent a physical experience that newer generations may never fully know. Long-term collectors often stress the importance of holding onto historically grounded pieces, even if their current market prices appear modest. The value of a coin is not only measured in present demand, but in its potential to represent something meaningful decades later. As Australia continues to evolve, update its designs, and experiment with currency innovations, earlier issues like the 1982 5-cent coin gain increasing significance as benchmarks of numismatic heritage. With each passing decade, these once-ordinary coins become rarer in high grades, scarcer in unaltered forms, and more appreciated for their role in documenting a turning point in the nation's monetary progression. Ultimately, the true strength of the 1982 Australian 5-cent coin lies in its blend of history, cultural symbolism, international reach, and the sentimental connection it forms with those who hold it. Whether cherished as an investment, preserved as a historical specimen, or admired as a subtle piece of Australia's story, the coin continues to grow in meaning as time enriches its legacy. Even a very dirty example participates in that legacy, carrying forward the silent testimony of countless hands and countless moments in ordinary Australian life. Its long-term appreciation, therefore, is not only financial but deeply cultural, as each surviving coin, no matter its condition, remains a tiny ambassador of the nation that created it. Second, the 1983 Australian 5-cent coin stands as one of the quiet yet meaningful reminders of the nation's transformation during the early decimal era, a transition that began in 1966 and reshaped Australia's entire currency system. By the time 1983 arrived, the 5-cent piece had already become an everyday staple, a coin so small and ordinary that most people overlooked the depth of history behind it. Yet for collectors and numismatists, the 1983 issue represents a piece of the foundational years of decimal currency, years that laid the groundwork for Australia's modern economic identity. With Queen Elizabeth II's portrait on the obverse and the iconic echidna designed by Stuart Devlin on the reverse, this coin captured both the continuation of Commonwealth traditions and the unique spirit of the Australian continent. Even in very dirty condition, the 1983 5-cent coin carries the marks of its journey, holding stories from decades of circulation that make it a living artifact of national history. Created from a copper-nickel alloy that contains about 75% copper, blended with nickel for hardness and durability, the coin has a distinctive metallic tone that has helped it endure through years of handling. The copper content is especially important because it connects the coin to a long global tradition of copper-based currency, known for stability and longevity. Over the years, many 1983 coins encountered harsh conditions, environmental exposure, and constant circulation, often resulting in pieces that appear extremely dirty, deeply toned, or stained. While this affects the visual appeal, it also highlights authenticity. These dirty coins bear the physical evidence of having moved through countless hands and countless moments of Australian daily life. For some collectors, this lived-in appearance gives the coin character, though the highest values always go to coins preserved in exceptional, very fine or uncirculated condition. Despite being a common circulation coin, the 1983 5-cent piece becomes significantly more interesting when viewed through the lens of rarity, condition, and collector demand. A coin that has survived more than 40 years without excessive wear, strike weakness, or corrosion is now relatively scarce, and examples with full details of the echidna's quills or the queen's portrait can attract surprising attention. In some speculative, highly specialized collector circles, certain high-grade or unusual examples are sometimes valued between $1,000 and $9,000 or more, especially if they possess striking anomalies, sharp mint luster, or exceptional preservation. While dirty, circulated coins do not reach these levels, their existence still contributes to the story, demonstrating how harsh circulation thinned the population of surviving high-grade pieces and made pristine examples rare enough to excite premium buyers. Among investors who appreciate numismatic history, the 1983 5-cent coin has become an interesting case study in how ordinary coins can evolve into valuable collectibles. The potential lies in grade rarity, the fact that very fine, extremely fine and uncirculated examples continue to disappear into private collections every year. As supply diminishes and demand slowly rises among domestic and international collectors, the market value for superior examples has grown steadily. Even collectors who hold lower grade, very dirty coins often see them as placeholders or entry points into understanding the series. Over time, these modest pieces can inspire deeper collecting journeys, investment strategies, and participation in a hobby that rewards patience and knowledge. For those seeking to collect or evaluate a 1983 5-cent coin, the key factors always revolve around condition, certification, and community involvement. Coins that appear dirty, corroded, or heavily worn may not carry high monetary value, but they still benefit from gentle, professional assessment without cleaning. Cleaning coins often destroys collectible worth. Serious collectors pursue certification from recognized grading organizations to confirm authenticity and provide an unbiased condition grade. Understanding grading standards, such as the difference between fine, very fine, extra fine, or mint state, allows collectors to determine where true value lies. Joining collector groups, online forums, and numismatic societies provides opportunities to learn from experienced collectors, discover rare varieties, and gain access to marketplaces where respected buyers and sellers interact. Beyond investment potential and collector technique, the 1983 5-cent coin holds deep importance in Australian numismatic history. It represents a moment when the country was still adjusting to decimalization, while maintaining cultural ties through the monarch's effigy and showcasing national pride through the echidna. For historians, this coin helps trace the evolution of design, minting technology, and economic trends during the early 1980s, a decade defined by change, modernization, and economic shifts. Even a dirty, heavily circulated example becomes a tangible link to governmental policy changes, minting decisions, and national identity, making it a valuable educational tool for those learning about Australia's monetary past. Culturally, the coin symbolizes both simplicity and resilience. It reminds Australians of a time when small denominations mattered more in daily life, when coins passed rapidly through shops, public transport systems, and everyday transactions, leaving behind physical memories etched into their worn surfaces. As digital payments become the norm, tangible currency like the 1983 5-cent coin becomes a nostalgic symbol of a fading era, one that younger generations may never fully experience. This cultural shift gives the coin added emotional weight, enhancing its collectible appeal far beyond monetary valuation. Finally, its international appeal has steadily grown as collectors from around the world seek to piece together Australia's early decimal coinage story. The 1983 5-cent coin, though small in size, carries global recognition, with its blend of Commonwealth symbolism and uniquely Australian wildlife design. As time progresses, coins from this era are expected to gain even more significance, driven by scarcity, historical charm, and the natural appreciation that rare numismatic items experience over decades. Whether preserved in pristine condition or found in a very dirty state, the 1983 Australian 5-cent coin continues its journey as a quiet yet powerful emblem of heritage, culture, and long-term collectible value. As the decades move forward, the 1983 Australian 5-cent coin becomes more than just a small piece of copper nickel. It becomes a silent recorder of social evolution. Every coin from this period reflects the everyday rhythm of Australian life in the 1980s, a time of shifting economies, cultural expression, and national redefinition. Even the very dirty examples, the ones stained by years of pockets, purses, soil, humidity, and oxidation, help paint a fuller picture of the coin's journey across generations. Their imperfections are the physical proof that these pieces were not tucked away in collections from the beginning, but played an active role in the real-world experiences that shaped the nation. It is this fusion of everyday use and national symbolism that gives the 1983 5-cent coin a depth of meaning that goes far beyond its small denomination. The international numismatic community often places special value on coins that reflect a country's transitionary periods, and the early decades of Australia's decimal system are increasingly recognized as such. Collectors from Europe, the United States, Asia, and Africa are drawn to the 1983 5-cent coin not only for its design and metal content, but also for what it represents: a fusion of British heritage through the monarch's portrait and Australian identity through the echidna. This combination creates a bridge between continents, making the coin appealing not just to Australians, but to anyone fascinated by Commonwealth history or global monetary transitions. As more collectors abroad take interest, the coin's reach expands, transforming what was once everyday Australian pocket change into a global collectible with multinational appeal. Even more intriguing is the long-term appreciation potential that coins like the 1983 5-cent possess, especially in high grades. Over 40 years have passed since these coins were minted, and in that time, countless examples have been discarded, damaged, or simply worn beyond recognition. The remaining high-quality pieces, those that still show crisp details, sharp edges, and strong luster, have become genuinely scarce. As time continues to thin the population, the rare survivors naturally grow in value, both financially and historically. Even though dirty, circulated examples may not reach premium price levels, their role in reducing the number of well-preserved coins contributes indirectly to the increasing worth of the finest specimens. This natural process of attrition is the foundation of long-term numismatic investment. Collectors who understand the deeper emotional dimension of coin collecting often prize the 1983 5-cent coin not for its face value or even its potential resale price, but for its ability to connect them to a shared human experience. Coins travel through the hands of people of all backgrounds: workers, students, travelers, shopkeepers, and families. A very dirty example could have passed through hundreds or thousands of lives, each contributing something to its appearance, its wear, and its story. This human touch gives the coin a timeless charm, transforming it from a simple object into a symbol of connection, reminding collectors that history is not only found in museums, but also in the humble items that circulated through everyday life. Ultimately, the enduring appeal of the 1983 Australian 5-cent coin lies in its ability to transcend its original purpose. What began as a small unit of currency has evolved into a piece of living history, one that continues to grow in significance as the world moves further into a digital, cashless age. Whether viewed as an investment, a historical artifact, a symbol of national identity, or a collectible with international resonance, the coin stands as a testament to Australia's cultural journey and economic evolution. Its long-term appreciation is not merely measured in dollars, but in the lasting meaning it holds for collectors who understand that even the smallest coin can carry an entire era within its worn and weathered surface. Third, the 1984 Australian 5-cent coin is one of those small yet historically rich pieces that silently trace the evolution of modern Australian currency. Emerging from the early era of decimalisation that began in 1966, this coin carries forward the legacy of Australia's shift from pounds, shillings, and pence to a simpler, more intuitive monetary system. By 1984, The 5-cent coin had become a familiar presence in everyday life. But for collectors and historians, it remained a cornerstone of the decimal coinage system. With Queen Elizabeth II's portrait on the obverse and the unmistakable echidna on the reverse, the coin not only preserved the continuity of Commonwealth heritage, but also celebrated Australia's unique natural identity. Even when found in very dirty condition, with its surfaces heavily toned or obscured by years of pocket wear, the 1984 issue stands as a symbolic piece of that foundational era of change. Made from a robust copper-nickel alloy, containing a high proportion of copper blended with nickel for strength, the 1984 5-cent coin was designed to withstand daily circulation. The copper content gives the coin its resilience, allowing it to survive decades of handling, weather exposure, and rough conditions. Many 1984 coins found today appear dirty or heavily worn, with dull surfaces, darkened edges, and faint details caused by long-term circulation. While this naturally diminishes their aesthetic and monetary value, it also highlights the authenticity of their journey. These dirty examples represent coins that lived full lives in the hands of everyday Australians, passing through countless transactions and environments, accumulating marks that tell the silent story of their role in daily society. The real intrigue begins when collectors look beyond the worn examples and focus on the rarity of high-grade 1984 coins. Although millions were minted, very few survived in the kind of very fine or uncirculated condition that collectors aggressively seek. Sharp details in the Queen's portrait, clean edges along the echidna's quills, and original mint luster are increasingly rare, making pristine examples far more valuable than one might expect. In niche numismatic markets, exceptional examples can sometimes be appraised anywhere between $1,000 and $9,000 or more, especially if they exhibit extraordinary clarity or striking anomalies from the minting process. The dirty, circulated coins often help emphasize this rarity, serving as evidence of how heavily the 1984 issue was used and how few mint-state survivors remain available for acquisition. Investors take a special interest in the 1984 5-cent coin because it represents one of the transitional years in Australian numismatic production, a year where the coins were heavily circulated but rarely preserved. As collectors continue to absorb the highest-grade pieces into long-term collections, the supply steadily decreases, naturally increasing their value. Over time, this scarcity generates upward pressure on prices for quality examples. Even beginners who start with dirty, worn pieces often use them as the foundation for expanding into higher-grade collections, creating a gradual demand cycle that benefits the entire series. The coin's age, historical role, and diminishing high-quality population combine to make it a quietly appealing long-term investment for collectors who understand the trajectory of numismatic markets. For collectors aiming to build a meaningful collection of 1984 5-cent coins, the most important factors revolve around condition, grading, and education. While a dirty coin may have sentimental or historical appeal, the true value lies in pieces that clearly show details and exhibit minimal wear. Professional grading services help establish the coin's authenticity and assess its exact condition, providing the impartial evaluations that buyers rely on. Understanding the grading scale, ranging from fine to uncirculated, allows collectors to recognize which examples deserve attention and which ones belong in bulk circulated categories. Engaging with numismatic communities, whether online forums or local coin clubs, provides the additional benefit of shared expertise, access to rare pieces, and opportunities to learn from seasoned collectors who understand the subtleties of the series. Beyond its economic potential, the 1984 Australian 5-cent coin holds a special place in the broader history of the nation's coinage. It represents a moment of continuity in Australia's monetary identity, serving as a bridge between traditional Commonwealth imagery and a uniquely Australian design aesthetic. The portrait of Queen Elizabeth II connects it to a global lineage of coinage, while the echidna embodies the nation's distinctive fauna and artistic expression. Even in dirty condition, the coin stands as a testament to Australia's evolving cultural narrative, linking decades of economic change, artistic development, and national pride within a single small piece of metal. In a cultural sense, the 1984 5-cent coin also symbolizes the gradual disappearance of small change in an increasingly digital society. As electronic transactions dominate the modern landscape, the tactile experience of handling coins becomes more nostalgic with every passing year. This growing distance from physical currency enhances the sentimental and collectible appeal of early decimal coins, making them cherished artifacts of a fading era. For collectors who appreciate history, the worn surfaces and dirty details of a heavily circulated 1984 coin are marks of authenticity that connect them directly to a time when coins were an essential part of everyday life. Ultimately, the enduring appeal of the 1984 Australian 5-cent coin lies in its combination of cultural symbolism, numismatic rarity, and long-term appreciation potential. It carries international appeal through its blend of Commonwealth heritage and Australian uniqueness, attracting collectors from across the globe who value its place within the story of modern currency. Whether held for investment, historical study, or personal enjoyment, the coin stands as a small but powerful reminder that even the most modest denominations can hold extraordinary significance. Over time, its value, both emotional and financial, is likely to grow, ensuring that the 1984 5-cent coin continues to shine brightly in the world of numismatics, no matter how dirty or worn the individual piece may be. Here are 5 additional long, richly detailed paragraphs continuing the same tone, depth, and narrative style, fully original and crafted to extend the script naturally. As the years advance, the 1984 Australian 5-cent coin gains an almost poetic quality, becoming a small vessel of lived history rather than just a circulating denomination. Every dirty example found today carries the fingerprints of time, layers of tunning, discoloration, and surface marks that reveal decades of movement through pockets, cash registers, public transport fare boxes, and kitchen drawers. These imperfections are not flaws in the eyes of sentimental collectors. They are the traces of real life, the evidence of a coin that faithfully served its purpose across generations. While high-grade pieces draw the largest financial attention, these circulated examples contribute the emotional dimension that anchors the coin's legacy in everyday Australian culture, reminding collectors that history is not preserved only in museums, but in the scratches and smudges of well-traveled currency. The international numismatic market has increasingly begun to view early decimal Australian coins as valuable cultural exports, attracting interest from collectors who appreciate the fusion of tradition and originality embedded in their designs. The 1984 5-cent coin, with its combination of Queen Elizabeth II's dignified portrait and the uniquely Australian echidna, becomes a tangible symbol of the country's identity, half Commonwealth, half independent spirit. As more collectors across the world seek to collect complete series from major world economies, coins like this become highly desirable because they reflect both political continuity and regional uniqueness. This widening global interest elevates the coin's status far beyond its face value, transforming it into a miniature ambassador of Australian culture. Long-term appreciation for the 1984 5-cent coin is supported not only by its historical charm, but also by the natural laws of time that govern all collectible markets. As high-quality examples disappear into private collections, the available supply shrinks every year, and the scarcity of untouched pieces becomes more pronounced. At the same time, younger collectors are entering the hobby with renewed enthusiasm, often driven by a desire to reconnect with physical objects in a digital age. This shift creates a powerful dynamic in which demand quietly rises while supply diminishes, a blend that almost always results in sustained value growth over time. Even coins in dirty or circulated condition benefit indirectly from this trend, as they help define the population curve that determines rarity and market stability. Collectors who view numismatics as more than a hobby often appreciate the symbolic weight carried by coins like the 1984 5-cent piece. It becomes more than a monetary artifact. It becomes a storyteller, a link to childhood memories, past economies, and a nation's transformation from analog to digital life. Every ding and stain on a dirty example reflects moments in history that are impossible to trace individually but collectively shape the spirit of the coin. This emotional value cannot be measured on a price chart, yet it is one of the reasons collectors remain deeply attached to the series. It is a reminder of simpler times, when coins were exchanged with meaning and physical currency shaped human interaction. Ultimately, the significance of the 1984 Australian 5-cent coin rests in its ability to bridge generations, cultures, and collecting philosophies. From investors seeking long-term appreciation, to historians analyzing the post-decimal period, to enthusiasts cherishing the sentimental aspects of worn and weathered examples, the coin holds a uniquely enduring place. Its international appeal continues to expand. Its cultural symbolism grows richer with each passing year, and its numismatic value remains rooted in scarcity, heritage, and identity. Whether preserved in pristine mint-state brilliance or recovered in very dirty, heavily circulated condition, the 1984 5-cent coin stands as a timeless emblem of Australia's journey, one that will only become more meaningful as the decades continue to unfold. Fourth, the 1999 Australian 5-cent coin may seem like one of the most ordinary pieces of pocket change. But within the world of numismatics, certain rare examples from this year have gained remarkable attention, especially when found with unique striking characteristics, mint errors, or unusual planchet anomalies. Even a very dirty coin can hide extraordinary traits beneath the surface, and collectors often stress that condition after cleaning is not as important as originality, structural integrity, and the presence of rare production mistakes. Because the 5-cent piece belongs to the original series of Australia's decimal coinage introduced in 1966, it carries historical weight as part of the nation's early transition into a modern monetary system. Its tiny size, durable metal, and distinctive design have made it an enduring symbol of Australian currency, and this background sets the foundation for why select 1999 issues are so prized. Although the standard 1999 5-cent coin was minted in large numbers, a small number of pieces display rare traits that elevate them far beyond ordinary circulation value. These include off-center strikes, broad strikes, partial collar errors, and the occasionally reported wrong planchet strikes. When these unusual variants appear on a coin tied to Australia's first decade of decimal currency, collectors view them not only as mistakes, but as windows into minting history. A very fine or extremely fine example with a dramatic mint error can command surprising premiums, sometimes estimated between $1,000 and $9,000 or even higher depending on rarity, demand, and the specific nature of the flaw. The presence of a copper-toned surface, whether due to environmental exposure, a transitional planchet, or natural discoloration, can also intrigue collectors who study composition anomalies. The copper appearance is often one of the most misunderstood aspects of these coins. The regular 5-cent piece is struck on an alloy of copper and nickel, and over time this can shift in coloration, especially when exposed to soil, moisture, or long-term storage in poor conditions. A very dirty or heavily toned coin may actually be protecting a sharply struck surface underneath, and specialists are trained to recognize when discoloration is purely environmental, and when it hints at something linked to the coin's metallurgy or striking process. This is why many seasoned collectors advise against cleaning, since improper polishing can erase original surfaces that are essential for accurate grading and professional evaluation. Despite the seemingly humble nature of the 5-cent denomination, demand for rare 1999 issues has increased steadily due to growing interest in Australian decimal varieties. Collectors appreciate how coins like these represent the everyday history of the country, yet also contain extraordinary stories hidden in metal. High-grade examples certified by reputable services such as PCGS or NGC often achieve the strongest prices, because certification provides authenticity, confirms the type of error, and protects the coin from further environmental damage. For a dirty coin believed to be valuable, proper conservation by professionals, rather than self-cleaning, is essential to preserve its investment potential. Investment interest in rare Australian decimal coins has expanded significantly as more collectors recognize the scarcity of certain mint varieties. The 1999 5-cent error coins, being both elusive and historically connected to the post-millennium era, offer a combination of nostalgia and rarity that naturally fuels long-term value appreciation. Investors often look for coins with strong eye appeal, bold errors, and consistent market performance. Even though many people underestimate small denomination coins, seasoned numismatists know that scarcity, not denomination, drives price. Because only a handful of dramatic errors survive from each year, these coins can outperform larger and more famous denominations. For newer collectors pursuing a 1999 5-cent rarity, the most important advice is to study recognized grading standards and learn how professionals assess a coin's condition. Joining numismatic communities, either online forums or local Australian coin clubs, creates opportunities to compare coins, share discoveries, and learn from experts who specialize in decimal varieties. Understanding the difference between natural wear and post-mint damage is crucial. Furthermore, documenting your coin with macro photographs and submitting it for authentication can significantly boost confidence for future buyers, especially in high-value categories. Within the broader history of Australian money, the 5-cent coin stands out as a cultural emblem of everyday life. Since its introduction with the decimal changeover, it has passed through countless hands across generations, symbolizing the shift from traditional systems into modern economic identity. A rare 1999 example encapsulates not only its age, but the continuity of Australian design, featuring the iconic echidna that has become one of the most recognizable animals in global coinage. This cultural symbolism adds emotional value for collectors who see these coins not just as investments, but as miniature pieces of national heritage. As interest in international coin markets continues to grow, rare Australian 5-cent coins, especially those from the 1990s, are becoming increasingly appreciated outside Australia as well. Their blend of scarcity, historical appeal, and unique minting characteristics gives them global collectible strength. Over time, coins like the 1999 error pieces have shown steady value appreciation, driven by shrinking supply and rising demand. This makes them especially attractive for long-term collectors seeking both personal enjoyment and strong financial potential. In the world of numismatics, where metal meets history, the rare 1999 Australian 5-cent coin remains a shining example of how even the smallest denomination can carry big significance. The fascination surrounding these rare 1999 Australian 5-cent pieces also comes from the mystery of how such errors escape the mint in the first place. Modern minting technology is designed to catch irregularities instantly, meaning that any dramatic mishap, such as a double strike, an off-metal planchet, or a severely misaligned die, reflects both an unexpected flaw in the process and a remarkable stroke of survival for the coin itself. Collectors love this sense of accidental rarity because it connects them to a specific moment inside the mint, a moment when something went off script and the machinery produced a unique collectible without anyone realizing it. This unintentional creation of a scarce variety gives the coin an origin story almost as valuable as the physical piece itself, forming a narrative that enhances both desirability and price. As more collectors specialize in decimal-era errors, the competition for standout pieces from the late 1990s has intensified. Auctions, both private and online, occasionally highlight unusual 5-cent varieties with exaggerated premiums, demonstrating how rare traits can elevate a small coin into a major numismatic highlight. A dramatic error paired with sharp details and original surfaces can ignite bidding excitement, especially among those who focus on Australian microdenomination anomalies. Even international bidders have entered the scene, drawn by the coin's blend of affordability for beginners and prestige for experts. This global interest contributes to steady upward pressure in market value, particularly for authenticated examples with visually striking errors. What keeps collectors captivated is the unpredictability of discovery. Many of the highest valued error coins are found not in curated collections, but in old jars, forgotten drawers, or mixed bags of circulated change. The 1999 5-cent coin, especially when very dirty, often hides its secrets under layers of decades-old grime. Enthusiasts sometimes describe the thrill of gently examining a dull, worn coin only to realize they're holding a minting mistake that was never meant to exist. The possibility of uncovering such a treasure adds a sense of adventure to the hobby, transforming ordinary searching into a quest filled with anticipation and surprise. Beyond monetary worth, these coins contribute to the broader understanding of Australia's minting evolution. Error coins serve as tangible records of the challenges, adjustments, and technical limitations within the production process during a specific era. In the case of the 1999 5-cent piece, they help historians and numismatists trace how equipment was maintained, how the mint handled transitional years, and how evolving technology occasionally created anomalies that slipped into circulation. Each coin becomes a micro-document of industrial history, offering insights that textbooks often overlook. This educational dimension enriches the collecting experience and deepens appreciation for the craft of coin making. Ultimately, the rare 1999 Australian 5-cent varieties continue to symbolize the intersection of national heritage, minting craftsmanship, and the joyful unpredictability of numismatics. Their enduring appeal lies not only in their potential value, but in the way they capture a moment in Australia's monetary timeline, an era when the country had fully embraced decimal currency, yet still produced occasional quirks that now captivate collectors worldwide. As cultural artifacts, these coins remind us that even the smallest denominations can carry stories of immense significance. With time, awareness, and increasing global interest, their reputation and value are likely to strengthen further, ensuring their place as cherished pieces of Australia's numismatic legacy.